Hello everybody, and thank you for joining me as I go over my research topic for this course project. And it's actually going to be about the wetlands in the Great Lakes region. And the reason I chose this is because I actually live in Michigan, and the wetlands kind of are within minutes of where I live. So it's a very important area that I can research and study and hopefully in the future help. Now, okay. So a little bit about biodiversity. So biodiversity is a term used to describe all species, plants, animals, bacteria, any kind of species in an ecosystem or a region habitat. Now, the wetlands actually are home to almost 900 different types of species at one given time. So that is quite a bit of different species. You have keystone species, you have the ones that regulate the entire ecosystem of that wetland. So losing all of those things could be really devastating for all of the wetlands surrounding the Great Lakes. And fragmentation and habitat destruction have ended up being two of the main causes for why the wetlands are losing their habitat space. And fragmentation is just a little bit of like the road constructions, just breaking up the habitat, separating them from each other without proper sustainability. And in this picture, you can see a little bit of the diversity of a wetland and what they kind of look like. Now, this is just three or four different species, but that is just basic pictures of what the wetlands can actually look like. Now, why are the benefits? Why are the wetlands important? Now, the wetlands are exceptionally important for water quality in the entire surrounding Great Lakes area. Now, the wetlands actually can absorb quite a bit of nutrients and trap those safely into the environment rather than having, your harmful algae blooms that actually are really poisonous to not only the species living there, but the human environment that could be ingesting any kind of that water. So maintaining these wetlands just for our water quality and regulation is extremely important. And the earlier one that I was talking about was how species-rich wetlands environments are. So like I said before, there's up to 900 or more, not even counting how many we might not have discovered yet, different types of species living in a wetland itself. And the other one that can actually be quite helpful is flood control. So any kind of storms or hurricanes or any kind of excess water, flooding, buildups actually protect other environments. So they can actually absorb quite a bit of water before it hits anything else. Okay, so this is kind of a little bit of an overview of what I was talking about. So losing the wetlands will create a more toxic environment for our water quality. So if we, just like in Flint, Michigan, the water supply, water qualities are already being impacted. Not only have they yet to have normal drinking water, I mean, that's only one place and it's been affected for so many years. Now we have the risk of losing all of our wetlands and all of the water that we drink or that's filtered through our daily lives could be at risk. And then not only that, there's, endless amounts of economical benefits that the governments aren't seeing. There's room for recreational, educational events. All of these things can lead up to millions of dollars a year that we are losing just because we want another house or we just want to build another road somewhere because there's so much overpopulation. Now, this is just kind of a thing of how it starts. So you start with fragmentation. You start with the roads. You take, you're paving away all of this habitat and ecosystem wetlands. You're destroying the wetlands to build these coastal developments, to build these housing communities, apartment communities, industrial buildings. Then you have just basic road construction when there's too many cars on a road or there's not enough, areas where they can get to. You go to habitat destruction. You just destroy everything. So not only are you leaving up to 900 species without a home, you're endangering all of these all of these species, and then the worst that can possibly happen is extinction. Okay, and then for my target audience, so if I was going to go to a company or a corporate manager and just say, hey, we need to stop this, we need to look for more sustainable solutions, we need to find a way to restore all of these wetlands, my main target audience right now is the construction companies that are in charge of all the road developments. And the main one is called MDOT, and that's the Michigan department that controls all the roadways. So if I were to be able to get to the top of them and say, hey, you know, we need to find a way to change this, we need to find a way to more sustainable solutions, more eco-friendly road or paved ways that might be needed, or just to stop, that would be great. But I just don't see that happening soon unless unless there's a way that conservationists can convince construction companies and local governments that this is a huge issue. And with all the evidence provided, I really believe that they might see it in the conservation's eye. So hopefully that'll provide change and really start helping people try to protect these wetlands. Now, this is my socioeconomic model, and as you can see, everything between the humans and the wetlands and all of these species and all of these different things going on all affect the wetlands, either a positive or negative. Unfortunately, most of it is negative right now. So you have regular pollution with all the cars on the road, using those fossil fuels and constantly. Like, there's not a gas station in sight around where I live that is not completely full all the time, just constantly getting gas, constantly driving places. And then not only that, you have the constant construction machinery going on, especially with the roads. They're constantly maintaining the roads. They're using all of these things. They're doing the salting in the winter, over salting that just affects so much. And then you have the urban development, which of course, you know, includes runoff, sewage, excess nutrients, housing developments. And then you have vegetation removal, which is sometimes you have hard shorelines. So you have people who put up these walls, these barriers, like concrete barriers, vinyl barriers, to protect them, that they think they're protecting themselves from flooding and hurricane control and all of that stuff, which in reality it's actually creating more problems. And then you have, of course, overpopulation, which is a huge issue right now with overcrowding, food insecurity, increased demand, which in turn goes to water flow. And water flow changes the water movement, the upslope of drainage areas, all of these things. The last two is, of course, warming climates, rising sea levels, more storms, more disasters. And a positive one is trying to get vegetation preservation. So if we have all of these overgrown swamps, we are not protecting the native species that are there. So the native species of all these wetlands are greatly impacted with the overgrown, especially if there's a harmful algae bloom that creates all of these excess nutrients, that creates all of this chance for overpopulation to occur in the vegetation area. And then you have the soil itself with toxic substances, the nutrient and carbon absorption, and chemical structure change. This is just a little bit of an idea that I had. I know there's a lot more things that, you know, play a role in the Great Lakes. And then there's 3 case studies that I actually reviewed, and these are the 3 that I came up with that I felt were extremely successful. The first one was digitizing the Great Lakes coastal wetlands. And in this practice, the people actually took the old mapping that they had of all the wetlands and redid them with the new technology that we have. And they were able to understand where the wetlands have lost the most, what part of the wetlands need the most help, which ones are essentially untouched by humankind. So this new age technology that was able to completely remap the wetlands just gives so much more detail to what conservationists are going to be looking at. The next one was the invasive species. I did not know that swans could be an invasive species, but they are. So this study ended up looking into the mute swans are surrounding the Great Lakes and figuring out that they were destroying the native vegetation. They were outcompeting not the species who are native there for breeding grounds, and they were just completely destroying the habitat. And all, us humans are like, oh my gosh, they're so pretty, but in reality, we have to find a way to control them. Now, this, I believe, was successful just because we need to, like I said, I had no idea that that could be considered an invasive species until looking into it and looking at the destruction that they're actually causing the wetlands. Now I have the restoring the wetlands. This case study actually was using microtopography to see if they could rebuild parts of the wetlands. So they were planting hummocks and white cedar seedlings over a period of 1 year. And this was really effective because it actually did restore a good part of the wetlands. So this was just a little bit about what I was talking about with, I believe that they were all successful. And using all of these 3 tools with monitoring possible new invasive species, restoring the wetlands, and with microtopography, as well as just mapping mapping for accuracy of what the wetlands actually look like, could really help the wetlands grow and really help us prove to the governments why we need so much help in restoring them. And then, so for future advancement, these were the 2 that I had. So I know a lot of people have started using the drones, and drone technology has become increasingly available. And I really believe that if they were going to start mapping the wetlands and trying to get an even closer look at just basic details of what the wetlands look like, I believe that it'll just have an amazing impact, especially with the cameras and the picture quality, being able to really show governments and construction companies and whoever we're targeting just what it actually looks like to what they're doing. And the other one that I had was the continuous water sampling. So as long as we continuously sample the water for its quality and consistently showing the governments that this is what we're dealing with all of the time and it's progressively getting worse, I really believe that these will help show the government that the wetlands need help. Otherwise, we're in trouble. Now, this was my swag idea. It was actually part of a recycling event that I thought would be a good idea, of just taking this flyer that you see on the left and putting it in like local places that people go to buy fertilizer, plants, chemicals, like Home Depot, Lowe's, Flowerland, anywhere that they kind of go. And it would really just promote bringing all of your home chemicals and plant food and fertilizers that you use, recycling it for free, as well as getting the sustainable, eco-friendly fertilizer and samples, as well as a gift card for just bringing your stuff to the event and recycling. And a part of me thinks that it would be a really good idea to do it 3 times a year, once during spring, once during summer, and once during fall. And those are 3, different plant groups. So I really feel that we could get a lot of this bad fertilizer off the lands and help the wetlands to start recovering. And I truly believe that this entire course has changed so much of the way I think. Just understanding different types of pollution, even having the lights on in my house and understanding that I could be messing with circadian rhythm of different species has really just made me more, I don't know the word for it, but I've been really trying to cut back on my lights. We are no longer buying water bottles, so we're trying to fill up our own water bottles, so that we're cutting down on our plastic waste. I actually started to slowly stop buying paper towels and using, just cutting up old t-shirts to clean up with, and I'm buying eco-friendly, like sanitizers. I'm buying eco-friendly, just all around household stuff that I need. So this class has just, I hope, has made me a better human and has made me more conscious of what I'm doing every day and how I can help the planet. Even if it's a tiny bit each day, I really think I can make a difference. And that is my entire presentation. Thank you so much for listening. That is the best email if you ever want to reach me. And then you are looking at all of the sources.